When Ellen was 12 years old, a great sadness came into her heart. She had a feeling that she could never be called a child of God. She felt that she was not good enough to enter heaven. Ellen and her twin sister Elizabeth would go to bed at night, but Ellen could not sleep. She would lie awake wishing that she could feel closer to God. Many nights after Elizabeth was asleep, Ellen would slip quietly out of bed and kneel on the cold floor beside the bed for a long time, earnestly praying to God. It was with this sad feeling that Ellen went to the Methodist camp meeting in Buxton, Maine with her parents in the summer of 1840. She had a great longing to find the peace of God and real forgiveness for her sins. Soon after they were at the camp meeting, Ellen heard a sermon about how Queen Esther went bravely in to King Ahasuerus after she had fasted and prayed for God to help her. Then she said, "So will I go in unto the king, and if I perish, I perish." Queen Esther was brave to go before the king after she had prayed, because she had faith to believe that he would receive her, and he did. This sermon made Ellen realize that she needed to have more faith that Jesus loved her just as she was, and that he would receive her just as the king had received Queen Esther, and that Jesus would forgive her sins. When the minister invited all those who wanted special prayer to come to the front, Ellen went forward. While bowed with the others who were seeking the Lord, Ellen's silent prayer was, "Help me, Jesus. Save me, or I perish." As she knelt and prayed, suddenly she felt the burden had left her, and her heart felt joyful and happy. Now she felt sure that Jesus understood her troubles and that he would help her. One day at the camp meeting, a woman stopped to talk to Ellen. She asked Ellen, "Dear child, have you given your heart to Jesus?" Ellen was about to answer yes, when the woman exclaimed, "Indeed you have. His peace is with you. I see it in your face." I wonder if people can see that about our faces. Can they see the love of Jesus shining in our faces? Can you maybe think of some stories in the Bible when the person's face shone with the glory of God? Let's look at Acts 6, 8, and 15, where it says, "And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. And all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel." Another person whose face shone with the glory of God was Moses, when he came down from Mount Sinai after talking with God. We read in 2 Corinthians 3:7, "The children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses for the glory of his countenance." There were many boys and girls at the camp meeting, but in those days there were not any special tents or rooms just for the children's meetings, like there are for children today. Those children sat with their parents all day and listened to the preacher. One day, as Ellen sat in the meeting, she saw close to her a small girl, about 6 years old, sitting by her mother. She was holding a pretty umbrella tightly in her arms. Several times she started to put it down, but then she would hold it tightly to her heart again. Oh, how precious that umbrella was to her. She looked sad and thoughtful, as if she were going through a real struggle. In a previous meeting, the little girl had heard the minister say that we must give up all for Jesus. Now she sat thinking, must I give up my umbrella? I love Jesus. I love my umbrella. Can I give up my umbrella for Jesus? As she looked at her umbrella, suddenly she just burst into tears and said right out loud, Dear Jesus, I want you to love me, and I want to go to heaven. Take away my sins. I give myself to thee, umbrella and all. And then she threw her arms around her mother, and she told her mother, Oh, Mother, I'm so happy, for Jesus loves me, and I love him better than my umbrella or anything else. The little girl's face was shining with happiness as she smiled at the people around her. Her mother was happy too. Then, with tears in her eyes, the mother explained that her little daughter had received the umbrella as a gift, and she loved it very much. She carried it everywhere she went, whether it was raining or the sun was shining. She even took it to bed with her at night. But here at the camp meeting, she had heard the story about how Jesus had given his very life on the cross so that we can all go to heaven. What a struggle she has gone through before she was willing to give up her best treasure, her umbrella, for Jesus. But now the struggle was over, and she was willing to sacrifice her pretty umbrella for Jesus. All the people in the tent were happy for the little girl because of her great victory. They knew it was just as hard for her to give up her pretty umbrella as it would be for them to give up their houses and land. The mother then explained to the little girl that now, because she was willing to give her best treasure to Jesus, it was all right for her to keep it and use it, as long as she did not love the umbrella more than she loved Jesus. The little girl had learned a very good lesson, the lesson that we must always obey the first commandments, which says, Thou shalt have no other God before me. She loved her umbrella so much that she almost worshipped it as though it were a little god. This is breaking the second commandment also, because it says we should not worship idols. Now, the umbrella wasn't really an idol, but almost anything can become like an idol if we love it too much and think about it all the time, as some people do. A shiny new car, a beautiful new house, a new boat or airplane, or maybe even a shiny new bicycle may become like an idol. Some girls almost worship beautiful clothes, and they are never satisfied with what they have. To them, clothes are like an idol. If we love and think about these things more than we do Jesus, and we do not have time to study the Bible, then these things become like a god, or an idol, to us as the little girl's umbrella was to her. As Ellen sat there in the meeting, she thought to herself how hard it is to give up even little treasures, like the umbrella. Yet Jesus gave up heaven for our sake and became poor so that we might have heavenly riches. Now at last Ellen had found the real peace of God. She knew that her sins had been forgiven. She was willing to give up all for Jesus, just as the little girl had been willing to give up her umbrella for Jesus. Now Ellen wanted to be baptized and become a real child of the King.